Hey everyone, welcome back. I bet a lot of you are like me thinking about those Social Security payments hitting our accounts soon. February's right around the corner.
Absolutely. Those dates are important for everyone, whether you're getting retirement disability or survivor benefits. It really impacts how you plan each month.
For sure. And before we get into the details, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our updates on Social Security and all things finances.
We're going to unpack some pretty interesting developments this month, some that might even surprise you.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. The February payment schedule. Now, this month's a bit different, right? Because February 1st is on a Saturday.
Exactly, and that actually moves the payment date up for some folks. So if you usually get paid on the 1st, you'll get your money on Friday, January 31st this time.
Early payday. I like it. And just a heads up, if you happen to get both Social Security and SSI, you might see two payments close together. But don't worry, that's totally normal. They're just for different months.
Right. Now, for anyone receiving benefits since before May 1997, your payment's scheduled for Monday, February 3rd. And that's for folks receiving both Social Security and Supplemental Security Income, too.
Got it. So mark those calendars. What about people who started getting benefits after May 1997? Is it different for them?
Yeah, their payment date depends on their birthday. It'll either be the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Wednesday of the month. We'll make sure to include a link to the SSA website so you can find your exact date.
Perfect. Now let's talk about some of those bigger developments you mentioned earlier. There's been a lot of talk about possible changes to the Social Security Administration because of those proposed government spending cuts.
It's true. The current administration is proposing some streamlining efforts within the SSA. But there are concerns that this could lead to things like staff shortages and slower processing times for applications.
I see. And that's definitely a big deal for a lot of people who rely on those services. It's especially worrying with those other policy changes being talked about, like eliminating that partial taxation of benefits.
It's definitely controversial and raises some big questions about how it would affect things long term, the program's sustainability.
For sure. And then there's the whole proposal about deporting undocumented immigrants. It's causing a lot of debate. What do you think about removing those contributions from the trust fund? How would that affect things financially? I'm curious to hear what you all think, too. Let us know down in the comments.
It's a really complex issue with potentially big consequences. We know those workers contribute billions every year through payroll taxes. Taking that away would definitely have an impact, especially for vulnerable people who rely on these benefits.
Yeah, it's something to watch, for sure. Staying informed is so important, so we know how these things might affect us and our families.
I agree completely. The more you know, the better you can advocate for what you believe in.
Well said. And speaking of advocating for what's right, there's some good news on that front for millions of public sector workers, thanks to the Social Security Fairness Act.
Yeah, this is a huge win for teachers, firefighters, police officers, and other public servants. They've been dealing with these financial penalties for years because of some outdated rules in the system.
Right. It's been a long time coming. But this act finally tackles that problem head on.
It does. The Fairness Act gets rid of those outdated provisions, the windfall elimination provision, and the government pension offset. They've been punishing these hardworking people for over 40 years.
Wow. It always seemed so unfair that they were penalized for paying into both Social Security and their pensions. They earned those benefits.
I agree completely. And the best part is this change is retroactive. So eligible retirees will see a bump in their monthly payments going forward, and they'll also get adjustments for what they were underpaid in the past year.
That's great news for so many people. When can they expect to see those adjustments in their payments?
They should be getting those lump sum payments for past underpayments pretty soon, and then their monthly benefits will be recalculated to reflect the changes.
This is such a win. This isn't just about the money, but about recognizing how important public service is and making sure these people get what they deserve. If you're excited about this news like we are, hit that like button and tell us what you think in the comments.
Absolutely. It's definitely a step in the right direction. Now, how about we talk about the cost of living adjustment, the COLA, which went into effect in January?
Yeah, you might have noticed your checks are a bit bigger thanks to that 2.5% COLA increase. The average monthly retirement benefit is now up to $1,976.
That's an extra $49 per month for those at full retirement age. It's a good increase.
It is. But we should also say that for many people, it might not be enough to keep up with the rising cost of, housing, groceries, and healthcare.
You're right. The COLA is meant to help keep up with rising costs, but the reality is inflation can eat away at those gains pretty quickly.
That's true, which is why it's so important to have a solid financial plan, especially as we get closer to retirement.
Absolutely. A good financial plan should include all your income, Social Security, pensions, savings, investments, the whole picture.
Yeah, diversifying those income sources can help protect against the ups and downs of the economy and help you have a more secure financial future.
And let's not forget about healthcare costs. Medicare's great, but it doesn't cover everything. It's important to think about those out-of-pocket costs for things like deductibles, copays, and prescriptions.
That's a great point. Healthcare can be a big expense as we age.
For sure. Planning ahead and looking into things like supplemental insurance can help with those costs and give you some peace of mind.
Okay, so we've talked about Scale A and having different income streams, but there's one more thing we should cover. If you're working and collecting Social Security, you need to be aware of the earnings test limits for 2025.
Yeah, those can be tricky. So basically, if you haven't reached your full retirement age yet and you earn more than a certain amount, some of your Social Security benefits will be withheld.
Wait, so they don't just reduce it dollar for dollar?
No. If you haven't reached full retirement age and you earn more than $23,400 this year, they'll withhold $1 for every $2 you earn over that. But once you hit your full retirement age, that limit goes away and you get all that money back.
Okay, so it's really just about timing then.
Exactly. And those rules are different for people who reach full retirement age during the year. Their limit is higher, $62,400, but again, once they hit their full retirement age, the limits are gone.
I see. That makes sense. There's so much to remember, but it's all really important, right?
It is. Knowing these details can really help you make good decisions about when to start collecting benefits and how to handle your finances while you're still working.
Absolutely. Now, before we move on, what about when your payment doesn't show up when it's supposed to? What should people do?
I know that can be frustrating. But before you worry, the Social Security Administration suggests waiting 3 business days. Sometimes there are just little delays and it gets fixed on its own.
Okay. So just be patient.
Yeah. But if it's been 3 days and you still haven't gotten your payment, then definitely reach out to the SSA. They're there to help.
Good reminder. It's always best to go straight to the source.
Absolutely. Understanding the system and knowing where to go for help, that's important.
For sure. It can be a lot to take in, but taking things one step at a time makes a big difference. Now, before we jump into our next topic, let's talk about some more good news for those getting Social Security benefits.
Yes. We've talked about some of the challenges, but there are definitely some positive things happening. Remember that Social Security Fairness Act, it's really a game changer for millions of public sector workers.
I'm still so happy about this. It's crazy to think that teachers, firefighters, police officers, those everyday heroes have had to deal with financial penalties just because they have pensions too.
It's a perfect example of a good intention gone wrong. You know, the original idea behind the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset was to stop people from getting too much from both Social Security and their pensions.
But it ended up hurting people who'd worked hard and paid into both systems. It just wasn't fair.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why the Social Security Fairness Act is so important. It's finally correcting that mistake. Repealing those old rules is a big step toward recognizing public service and making sure those dedicated people get the benefits they deserve.
And this isn't just for future retirees. Remember, the change goes back in time. Eligible retirees will see an increase in their monthly checks going forward. Plus, they'll get money back for what they were underpaid last year.
That's huge. Think about the relief they must be feeling knowing they'll get those adjustments.
It reminds us that sometimes things do change for the better. And they should be getting those lump sum payments for past underpayments soon. Then their monthly benefits will be recalculated with the new rules.
This is a real victory. It shows what can happen when people speak up and demand fairness. Positive change is possible.
Well said. Now, speaking of things that affect our lives, let's talk about the cost of living adjustment, or KECOLA. It took effect back in January.
Yeah, KECOLA adjustments are always a big deal, especially with prices going up like they have been. This year's 2.5% increase brought the average monthly retirement benefit to $1,976.
That means an extra $49 each month for those getting full retirement benefits, which is helpful.
Definitely. But it's important to remember that for some people, it might not be enough to cover the rising costs of basic things like rent, groceries, and healthcare.
That's true. The TOLA is meant to help seniors keep up with those costs. But the truth is, inflation can make it hard to stay ahead.
You're right. It's a constant challenge, and why having a good financial plan is so important, especially as we get closer to retirement.
I couldn't agree more. A solid plan should include all your different income sources, Social Security pensions, savings investments, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. Diversifying your income like that can help protect you when the economy changes and help you feel more financially secure.
And don't forget about healthcare costs. Medicare is lifesaver, but it doesn't cover everything. Those out-of-pocket expenses for deductibles, copays, and prescriptions, those can add up.
You're so right. Healthcare costs can be a big burden as we get older.
Exactly. Planning ahead and maybe even looking into supplemental insurance can help cover those costs and give you some peace of mind.
Great advice. So we've covered KLA and making sure you have different income streams. But here's another thing to keep in mind. If you're working and also getting Social Security benefits, you need to know about the earnings test limits for 2025.
Those earnings test limits can be kind of confusing. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Basically, if you're not at your full retirement age yet and you're making more than a certain amount, the Social Security Administration might hold back some of your benefits.
Oh, right. But we talked about how you get that money back later on once you hit your full retirement age.
Yeah.
So it's not gone forever.
Right. It's more about managing when you get those payments.
Okay. For those who haven't hit full retirement age and they're making over $23,400 this year, they'll withhold $1 for every $2 earned over that.
Yeah.
But once you reach full retirement age, those limits disappear and you get all your benefits.
Exactly. And remember, the limit is higher for those who reach full retirement age during this year. It's $62,400 for them. But once they hit that full retirement age, the limits go away.
It seems like a lot to keep track of, but it's important to understand these rules so you can plan for your work and retirement.
I agree. The more you know, the better choices you can make to reach your financial goals.
That's a great point. So what advice would you give someone getting close to retirement who wants to make the most of their Social Security?
I'd say the most important thing is to create a budget that reflects your actual income and expenses.
Sounds simple enough, but it can be harder than it looks, especially with the cost of everything going up.
That's true. It takes some work and being honest about your finances. Start by listing all your sources of income, Social Security, pensions, savings, any investments you have.
And then track your spending for a few months to see where your money's going.
Don't forget about healthcare costs, which can be a big expense in retirement.
Right. It's also a good idea to think about your lifestyle and how that might affect your spending.
Absolutely. Are you planning to travel, take up new hobbies, downsize your home? All those things will impact your retirement budget.
It's all about making a plan that fits your dreams for the future.
And remember, there's help out there. The Social Security Administration has a ton of resources on their website, things like calculators and retirement planners. They can help you figure out your benefits and see what different scenarios might look like.
Those tools are great. They can really help you see those different retirement paths and make good decisions for your situation.
And if you want more personalized help, you can always talk to a financial advisor.
Yeah, they can help you figure out all the complicated stuff with Social Security, Medicare, and retirement planning.
Exactly. Remember, the more you know about your finances, the better you can take control and make decisions that will lead to a secure and happy retirement.
Having someone who knows what they're doing can really make all the difference when you're trying to figure out your finances.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot when it comes to Social Security payments, policy changes, the Fairness Act, the COLA, all kinds of things.
And we've gone over some key strategies for getting the most out of your benefits and building a strong financial plan for retirement. Right. But let's bring it back to you, the listener. What can you do right now to make sure your financial future is secure, especially when you're thinking about those retirement years?
One of the most important things you can do is know your full retirement age. It's really important because that's when you can get your full Social Security benefits.
It's not always as clear as you'd think, is it?
No. A lot of people think it's 65 for everyone, but it actually depends on when you were born. Your full retirement age could be 66 or even 67.
So knowing that number is a great place to start. What else should people keep in mind?
We talked about those earnings test limits before and how working while you're collecting Social Security can affect your benefits. It's really important to understand those rules if you're thinking about working during retirement.
It's about finding that balance between earning as much as you can and making sure you're not accidentally reducing your Social Security checks, right?
Exactly. If you're not at your full retirement age and you're making over a certain limit, they might hold back some of your benefits. But the good news is you get that money back when you hit your full retirement age. It's just about timing.
Right. It's not like it's gone forever.
Exactly. And remember, those earning limits are different for people who hit their full retirement age during the year. It's higher for them, $62,400. But once they hit their full retirement age, those limits are gone.
So many details to keep track of. But it's definitely worth understanding those rules so you can make the best plans for your work and retirement.
I agree. Okay, so for those who are getting close to retirement, what are some concrete things they can do to get ready for this new chapter?
That's a great question.
Creating a realistic budget is super important. Take a look at all the income you expect to have from Social Security pensions, savings, investments, and then think about all your expenses.
And like we've been saying, don't forget about those healthcare costs. They tend to go up as we age.
You're right. Medicare is a great help, but it doesn't cover everything. You'll want to include those out-of-pocket costs for deductibles, copays, and prescription drugs in your budget.
Having a diversified retirement portfolio really helps in those situations. It's like a safety net for your finances.
Exactly. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Having income from different sources like Social Security, pensions, savings, and investments can help you through those tough financial times.
It's all about creating that sense of security and peace of mind. And you don't have to do this alone. There are so many resources out there to help you plan for retirement.
The Social Security Administration's website is a great place to start. They have calculators and retirement planners that can help you figure out what your benefits will be and explore different options.
Those tools are awesome. They can really help you see those different paths and make good choices based on your own situation.
And if you want a more personalized approach, talking to a financial advisor can be really helpful. They can help you make a plan that fits your specific needs and goals.
It's like having someone there to guide you through this whole journey.
Exactly. The more you know about Social Security, Medicare, and retirement planning in general, the more power you have to create the retirement you've always wanted.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well,
as we wrap up today, we want to leave you with this. Social Security is more than just a program. It's a promise. It's a safety net for so many people who've worked hard and paid into the system so they can have some security later in life.
And even though there are challenges and it can be complicated to figure out Social Security, there are also amazing opportunities to make the most of your benefits and create a fulfilling retirement that you're excited about.
So stay informed, stay involved, and don't be afraid to ask questions. There are people and resources ready to help you every step of the way.
We hope you found this deep dive into Social Security helpful and empowering. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.
And be sure to leave us a comment down below. We love hearing your thoughts and answering any questions you might have. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered.